The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back, Golenbock University. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and two of the three Mishuganas are here to join me. I'm the third. Peter Golenbock, the professor, is here, and Alan Blumkin, the maven, is here. Gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not that you're both not mavens, not that I'm not a maven, but sometimes I have to laugh out loud at Alan's knowledge on these shows. I just shake my head. Congratulations again, Alan, for stunning me on a regular basis. And Peter, how have you been? How is the end of the baseball season? What are your thoughts about the World Series, both of you guys? And how about those Astros, I guess?
How about those Astros for sure?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting World Series. I mean, there are a couple of those games you just were on the edge of your seat.
Right, back and forth.
They've totally rearranged how they use their pitchers, which I thought was interesting, because a lot of people who have been longtime baseball fans think it's just utterly moronic, and yet, you know, we're not the ones making the decisions. It used to be that a fella started a game and pitched 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 innings, no matter what. Mm-hmm. I mean, you win the game 8-6. You know, your pitcher's given up 6 runs, but he's still, you know, in there in the 7th or 8th inning pitching. This started. Well, when would it start? About 4 or 5 years ago, where somebody decided that the starters should never face the opposing lineup for the third time. They had statistics. The first time a starter faced the lineup hit 185. The second time the lineup faced the pitcher, the lineup hit 284. But the third time the lineup faced the pitcher, according to the statistics, they hit 372. And so to make sure that didn't happen, what they're doing now is they have very, very strong bullpens of 5 and 6 pitchers who throw 95 miles an hour. And the starting pitchers can go, you know, they in one of the World Series games, one of the starting pitchers, I think he had a 1 or 2 hitter after 5 1/3, and they took him out. Rich Hill, I think, was the pitcher.
Right.
They took him out. And it was like I could just find myself screaming at the television. What the hell are you doing? What are you doing?
They took out Sabathia, and I didn't think the Yankees should have taken out Sabathia in the playoffs. He had 4 and 4 plus
4
innings.
2/3, right? Yeah.
And gave up 1 run, and they took him out. And I don't see, if you're going to bring in a relief pitcher, a long relief pitcher, I'd like to see what the stats are as opposed to that third time around by bringing.
Well, they know. They have the stats. The stats are sitting right in front of them before the manager brings them in. So you have to assume that the stat will show that the batter is hitting less than, say, 364 against whatever relief pitcher they bring in. But the thing, of course, is, if a team is hitting 364 against a particular pitcher, that means that 630-something times the guy's going to make out.
Right. Well,
and
even if they're higher, the one thing the stats don't take into account on a day-to-day basis is the physical condition of that pitcher. He's not a machine. Some days he's going to be in better condition to pitch than in others. his disposition, his mannerisms, that a manager can look in the eye of a pitcher and determine if he wasn't just going by those pure stats. And some managers do better, some with pitching, historically, with pitching staffs than others.
Well, there's an interesting history going back to the Red Sox. When their fabulous pitcher, help me out here, Pedro Martinez. Pedro Martinez. When their fabulous pitcher, Pedro Martinez was theoretically taking the Red Sox to a championship. And the manager decided to go with Martinez's heart and left him in. And of course we know what happens, bing, bang, and boom. Martinez lost the game. The manager got fired. I mean, I do believe on some level that may have been sort of the impetus for this, for this change.
Well,
and what we see now is that we now have this, string of 4 or 5 relief pitchers who come in to finish the game. And it doesn't mean either that the closer necessarily is going to pitch in the ninth, because they've also come up with the notion that it would be better to bring the closer in against the heart of the order, 2, 3, 4, 5, even if it's the 7th or the 8th inning. And we see that happening as well. Now, we as fans are not used to any of this. It drives us crazy. But I have a sneaky suspicion we're going to see more and more of it.
I wonder why they would, in a short series like the World Series or the playoffs, why go to relief pitchers for relief as opposed to starters who are on their off days, on their throw days or whatever.
Well, that's a very, very astute observation, because one of the things that we did see in this World Series, towards the end of ball games, we saw starting pitchers. This fellow Morton, who was a starting pitcher for Houston, he came in at the end of that last game and pitched magnificently. He was just fabulous. He was just, really, really terrific.
Well, and
this was something. Yeah.
In 1958, Bob Turley, who won the Cy Young Award that year with a 21-7 record, in the World Series he pitched the 5th game shutout. Then there was a travel day. Then in the last 2 games in Milwaukee, he closed the 6th game, and he pitched 6+ innings of the 7th game to when they won that World Series. And Turley blew. He was never really any good after that season.
Mm.
Yeah, they had to protect his arm.
Very true.
They threw him to the Wolves to win that World Series, and he was virtually useless the rest of his career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very interesting. Very interesting.
One of the things that amazes me about that great Yankee team in '61 is that Turley was hurt, and outside of Whitey Ford, they were really putting that pitching staff together. Raleigh Shelton, Stafford.
Ralph Perry won 16-3 that season.
Bill Stafford.
Yeah,
Bill Stafford, and
that season.
They had this Class D pitcher, Raleigh Sheldon.
Yeah.
Rollie Sheldon. Yeah.
Yeah. And all to replace Bullet Bob Turley's effectiveness, because Alan mentioned that he was just toast by then. And they still go down. I think that goes down as arguably, of course, the best Yankee team of all time.
Mm-hmm.
By the middle of that
catchers with 20 home runs each. Maris, Mantle, the home run.
The Yankees threw Turley in a game out against the Angels, who were a first-year expansion team, out at the L.A. Wrigley Field, and he wound up giving a hit to Ryan Duran. And then I remember listening to this on the radio. He gave a hit to Ryan Duran, couldn't see 2 feet.
Yeah.
And he gave up a 3-run home run to Albie Pearson. And they wound up losing that game. And that basically was, was the end for Bob Turley.
The end for Bob Turley, yeah.
And the beginning of one of the most successful expansion franchises. They were winning within 2 or 3 years. They had a pretty damn good team.
That's true.
Yeah. And conversely, the next year, rules would change when the National League drafted, and made all the difference.
I thought
horrible.
I thought that the Dodgers lost that game just as soon as they announced Yu Darvish as the starting pitcher.
Why was that?
Basically because I call it the Don Sutton syndrome. In 1982, the Brewers played the Cardinals in the World Series. Brewers, of course, were the American League at that time. They started Don Sutton a couple of times. And Don Sutton had just come over from the National League, where he pitched for years, and the Cardinals saw him for years. The same thing with Darvish. I mean, they got him from Texas, and Houston, which is in the same division with Texas, must have seen him at least, 3-4 times a year before the World Series. And it's my contention: if you can, you don't start anybody in the World Series who the other team is very familiar with.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's quite a terrific point. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that Darvish
in Game 3. Yeah.
Darvish lasted 2 innings.
Yeah, meltdown in Game 3. Well, then was 2 innings in either start.
Yeah.
It was astounding. I mean, that was among
you got to throw him out the second time because, thinking back to Ralph Terry, who got in 60 got lost, and in 61 won.
Yeah, fully won. He pitched the last game in 62, but he'd been an American League pitcher his entire career. Talking about guys who shift leagues, and now, of course, with the free agency, that's much more prevalent than it's been.
Yeah,
but
and the fact that they also
10 times over a 2-year period during the regular season, you're familiar with what the guy has.
Without a doubt.
I wonder. I'm gonna throw this out to you guys. I wonder if the agents and the union aren't responsible for the cubbyholing of relief pitchers, because they've driven up the cost of a closer to the point where he's making as much money as anybody on the team.
Well, the Giants gave him Lance in that big fat contract, and he spent the whole year on a DL.
And I think the smart teams are getting wise to that.
Yeah.
I think the smart teams, the Tampa Bay Rays are a team that have never, ever, ever paid big money for a closer because they feel that these people can be replaced rather easily. They also feel the same way about their other relievers. We bring these people in, and off they go somewhere else. And more often than not, they don't succeed in the new place that they go to. And more often than not, the Rays pick up some guy, and sometimes you don't even know who the hell it is, and the guy ends up pitching just fine.
Yeah. As we fantasy players know, it's most difficult to predict or project which relief pitches from year to year are going to give you a good year.
Right. Well, you know who you're paying for. You certainly know who you're paying for.
The irony of the situation is that
what you're going to get for that buck, you don't know.
Free agent, and somebody is going to throw out, tons of money at him, despite what happened in the World Series.
On whom?
On Darvish.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. And Darvish may very well, quite frankly, win 15 games next year. He could do that. He's not a terrible pitcher.
No, I know, but I asked a friend of mine is a big Dodger fan, why they got him in the first place.
They got him because they thought that he'd be a winner.
Texas.
They were sure that he was going to be a big winner for them. I would have bet that he would have been. I would not have thought that he would have been. Yeah,
it did help
exactly.
get him there. It's the Don Newcomb syndrome. Everybody always came down on Nuke, but the 28 wins and what have you didn't hurt to get him there. And again, he was coming up against the Yankees too.
Yogi,
yep.
Excellent.
It was wonderful. Let me interrupt. It was wonderful to see Nuke and Sandy Koufax throwing out that first ball. Nuke is just, he is such a hero to so many people. And it was just marvelous.
Somebody posted on Facebook that the Dodgers would have been better off starting either one of them instead of Darvish.
That's great. That is really
terrific.
terrific.
Dodgers losses, they didn't want to be invited to the White House.
That could be too. That's a possibility.
That's a subliminal thought that can't be overcome sometimes.
That's true.
And what did I post? I'd rather visit a leper colony than the White House.
It's the same thing.
Yes, pretty much.
Lepers.
Pretty much. And today is not to digress from baseball, and I don't want to talk about the shooting because that's all National Rifle Association.
No, we haven't had one since Las Vegas. I mean, it's been
it's been weeks. Yeah. Wonder what the board said up on in Vegas about how long the next one would be. Because there's a betting board for everything.
Yeah.
But
I
want to talk about the dominoes beginning to fall. We had they came out today and said they were going to indict imminent indictments on some more folks. The judge says he fears flight on these on the first two guys they indicted. So that means he's going to set the bail way high, or they may not even give bail.
That's possible. It's possible.
So I think the dominoes are falling. Do you feel good about that? And do you realize? Of course, you realize that when and if, or if and when Trump goes down, we got Pence.
It's going to be a long time before Trump goes down. This is not going to happen quickly. I'm telling you that. This is a process. I mean, Watergate took a year and a half. The way Mueller is doing it, this is little inch by inch by inch by inch, because he knows that he's got to play the game of chess better than Trump's and Trump's lawyers. What they're doing right now, quite frankly, is everything that they're accusing them of in state court. Because you cannot pardon somebody who is charged with a state offense. You can only charge somebody who's charged with a federal offense.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. Yeah. And that is very, very cool.
Very cool. So this is what Mueller is doing right now. He is very slowly, working his way, getting one of these people to squeal, and then another one, and then another one, and another one. And by the time they get to the inner circle, these people are going to have no place to hide.
Yeah, plus you have the Asians right now, all flattering him on Trump on purpose, because the more you flatter him, the more you can get out of him.
But, I can't tell you how that cheers me up, Peter, because I'm thinking, whatever happens,
like a drum.
He's going to pardon these guys, so it really doesn't matter. But wow. What? It pays to have an attorney.
Uh-huh.
All right. Yeah. All right. How often do you use your legalese, Peter, in life?
Never. I don't use it ever.
Okay.
Not ever. I graduated from NYU Law School, and I proceeded to have a legal career of 6 weeks. I went to work for the law firm of Friedman and Fishman, and they handed me a pile of cases, and they said, go through these and tell me what we have. So I went through them, and there were like 50 of them, and 6 of them, the statute of limitations had run. And these were tort cases, and it was 6-year statute of limitations. And so when the statute of limitation runs, the law firm is subject to, huge punishment from the bar, because that's terrible negligence. And so I went in front of either Mr. Friedman or Mr. Fishman, I can't remember which, and I said, I'm sorry, sir, but I've got these 6 cases, and the statute of limitations have run. At which point he said to me, call these people on the telephone, tell them why they don't have a case. And it was interesting, because if I had been, somebody else, I might have said, okay, because, I was making my solid $100 a week. And instead I said, I'm sorry, I quit. And I quit. And shortly thereafter that, I got a job working at Prentice Hall, which was in Englewood Cliffs, and it was there that I got the contract to write my book, Dynasty.
Wow.
So if I had stayed as a lawyer, I never would have gotten to Prentice Hall, and I never would have published my first book.
And you never would have enjoyed life like you do.
Oh, certainly not. It's true.
No, absolutely.
True. Yeah.
Wow. Alan.
Yeah.
What precipitated you going to work for IBM?
I needed a job. I had just come out of basic training from the Army Reserve. I spent four wonderful months at Fort Dix from October 1968 through the end of January 1969. I needed to get a job because I felt I needed to save money to move out from my parents. So I have a friend that was working there, and he put the word in, and I stayed there for 12 years, and then things got a little hairy there, and another friend of mine got me into the Transit Authority, where I spent 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
life is funny.
It's amazing how things go and our lives change.
Yeah.
Sometimes by chance, sometimes.
It's funny, Ralph. I don't know the first thing about you or what you do.
Whoa. Peter, we share that in common. I must say.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. Air Force, to beat the draft, to get out of the draft, I enlisted in the Air Force as a 20-year-old who had come out of high school and couldn't matriculate. I was selling insurance on a debit in Harlem, going to the worst possible neighborhoods as a little 20-year-old kid with a high voice and a suit from Barney's and a briefcase and walking up and down and just getting to know life a little bit, and went back to get my high school yearbook, and got to talking to the counselor that was teaching there, who befriended me, and was impressed by the fact that in the 6 months since I'd left, they were paying teachers so low that a starting out insurance man was making more money than a teacher was making working there for 20 years.
Wow.
So it taught me how skewed the system is, how people make money, entertainers make so much money, this, that, and the other thing. We don't pay police, we don't pay firemen, we don't pay teachers.
Right.
And I recognized all of that. And there was Vietnam War, and I was stationed at Travis, and got out and continued. I went to work for New York Life and worked very, very hard for 7 years. And my father died when he was 62, right after retiring. I was 28, and I was shocked by the idea that he got no retirement, and I'm going to end up the same way. I'm going to work. I was spending a little bit more money than I was making every year, so I was accumulating enough debt, so work was tedious and horrible, and I was refinancing. And I was never a good money manager, and I knew it wasn't for me. And when my father passed away, I was left a little bit of money right then so I could just liquidate my debts. Right. And I decided I wasn't going to work anymore. I was going to work 20 hours a week just to live, not to work. And I was going to try to be a comedian. And I did that for a number of years. I worked on the road and played with that. And one day, I read a book called Baseball Card Flipping Book.
Yeah, I have
flipping
that,
book.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
I know the book.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The foreword of the book was written by Cy Berger.
Mm-hmm.
And Cy Berger wrote the book and wrote the foreword and said the philosophy of Topps used to be where they'd go around and scout all the minor league players. They'd hire scouts and sign the players to Topps contracts so that they had their permission to use their picture on baseball cards, and things were going splendidly until they snubbed Maury Wills inadvertently. They didn't think that he would make the majors, and they didn't offer him a contract. Remember, he's been like 9 years in the minors.
Right. I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so the point, and there was no Topps contract when he was brought up until way later when he was with the Pirates.
His first Topps card was 1967 as a Pirate. But
as a Pirate,
people who create custom cards, there's a bunch of them have created custom cards for his missing years.
Yeah, with the Dodgers. But the whole gist of that was that I read between the lines and realized that Topps would be looking for folks who are salespeople, administrators, schmoozers, who could go out, baseball crazies, who could go out, befriend the managers and coaches in the minors and, do the job. So I wrote a letter. I didn't even write it. I had my girlfriend at the time compose it and write it. I didn't. She knew my skills, which were basically I could talk ball. That's it. And I do this. I do this. Now batting for the Yankees, number 77, Peter Golenbock. 77. So it's a life with very little talent. So I had to use what I had. So I wrote Cy Berger a letter, and I said, I'm on the West Coast. If you need somebody out here, if you ever do, boom, he writes back, hang loose. I'll get back to you when I do. A year later, he gets back to me and says, you're going to have the California League. And a year after that, they added the Northwest League. And I went out every summer and drove the beautiful countryside and went from team to team in those leagues, signing players. And
isn't that terrific?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and that was it. And I got to tell you, it sometimes didn't work out really well. But
What does that mean?
Never worked more than 20 hours a week because I realized that I would end up like, I just couldn't do it. How's that? So, and I was creative in terms of my lifestyle, and anyway, that's me. How's that?
That's great.
Yeah.
That is just terrific.
So, I'll tell you what I have been doing lately that you don't know about, Peter, is that our mutual friend Lenny Randall and I get together mornings at for a half an hour, 3 or 4 times a week, and I blend them all together. And I chronicle Lenny and his experiences on a daily basis, and he brings on former players and interesting people from his life. And you're absolutely right. You know how to judge it. You're chronicling him too, I understand.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I am working on it. It's a little bit more difficult, to actually get somebody to pay you to do it. That's what I have to do in order to make this happen. Hasn't happened yet, but I'm hoping. We'll see.
Okay. Well, he's hoping too. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
All right, guys. Peter, would you like to talk
next
about
week?
Billie Jean King next week?
Next week. We'll do it next week.
Good deal.
All right, Alan?
Alan, you
have a great week.
Anything to add? I don't want to short you at all, as you know.
No, I'm happy as could be.
Either of you. Alan too, right?
Yeah. As I said, my internet is down. The modem crashed. So
oh my goodness, that's not
I can't get these idiots to come until Tuesday morning.
I hear you.
This is Spectrum.
Comcast, if you're out there,
when it's
shaking my head.
I never had any problems.
And
since Spectrum took them over, I had nothing but problems.
Yeah. I guess, Peter, you heard about the shootings in Texas.
Yes, I did. I certainly have. All I can do is shake my head. This has nothing to do with ISIS. It'll be interesting to see if our president has something to say about it, since it obviously has nothing to do with ISIS.
They're all offering thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, well, that should do them a lot of good.
They do all the time. They offer thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
And
how about the NRA? It's time that this country gets behind humanity and says, "Fuck this." They're killing our relatives. They're making it difficult to not be an agoraphobic.
Well, unfortunately, one of the most successful things that the Republicans have done is to convince the world that what the Democrats want to do more than absolutely anything else is take away their guns. And so I have to be honest with you, it's something the Democrats are going to have to absolutely put away if they're going to win the next election. Forget about taking away their guns. They want to keep their guns.
Can you take away their magazines without taking away their guns?
Well, you can't do any of this unless the Democrats get elected. If the Democrats don't get elected, you're not taking away anything.
You think they would take away that mechanism that turns these rifles into into rapid fire machine guns?
Yeah, but you're talking about something that makes a certain amount of sense.
I know that. Yeah,
and all you get is vitriol coming back at you.
Well, the NRA tells them if they pass this, they'll pull their funding. So.
Well, without a doubt. Though it's amazing to me that the people on the other side can't raise a similar amount of funding. I mean, there's a guy right now, Tom Steyer, who's spending all the money in the world with his campaign to get the guy.
I signed this petition.
Yeah, I think we all have. But is that going to do any good?
Of course not.
No, of course not. That's exactly right. Of course not. So.
Well, let's hope the dominoes fall and somehow they can include Pence. That would.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Pence is as involved with the Russians as any of them. Sessions is more involved.
They got rid of Pence. They put in Paul Ryan.
Yep, that's absolutely true. Yep, that's absolutely true.
Scalise would be after that, if I'm not mistaken, or I don't know.
I don't know who's after that. I don't know. The whole thing.
All right. Next week, all sports, no politics.
Okay, babe.
Okay.
All right. Have a great week, both of you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening.
Okay.
I'm Ralph Tyko, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network.
Bye-bye.
Over and out. Thanks again.